Something I wanted to speak about quite a long time ago was, basically giving advice to teens who are searching for a magical path. Because there's some aspects of this which need to be mentioned. It's a bit of a difficult topic though, but I'll get into all of that just now. First, the intro. Just to start this video, if there are any parents watching who are worried about their children pursuing magic and witchcraft and demonology and all of this stuff, you're going to obviously have your own opinions, and they're your children. So I'm not going to tell you what to do with that. But if you do want some advice, guide your children. And what I mean by this is, you might not agree with everything that they are reading or watching on the internet, but not everything out there is as malicious as many of us are led to believe. So the best thing to do is actually educate yourself also. You don't need to follow the paths, you don't need to practice them. In most cases you don't even need to agree with them, but understanding them really helps your children. Now, this is obviously a very sensitive topic because we all want to protect our children. So that's why I'm saying just understand what they're actually trying to learn. And the more you understand, the more you can guide them. There are a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of fearmongers. There are a lot of people who will take advantage, not just of your children, of everybody, adults included. So you've got to, last week's video, check, double check and triple check all information. And if you are finding the right sources of information, then everything's okay. So if you can help your children find those right sources, then you know that they're actually, venturing down a path that is solid and will alleviate your worry a little more, I think. And as I say, obviously you're not going to agree with most of the stuff I say. You're not going to agree with most of the stuff a lot of people say. You have your own beliefs and you have your own way, your own path, but it might not necessarily be the path that your children want to actually follow. But again, I'm not here to tell you how to raise your children. That's completely up to you. What I am wanting to do today is just give some advice for teens who are wanting to follow a magical path and are looking for information. And again, a lot of the information out there is a load of trash. So to try and find the proper information can be very difficult. It's been very difficult for me. It's been very difficult for many, many, many people. I am not teaching teens. This is just purely advice. Take it or leave it. Up to everybody who watches and listens. Alright, so teens. What should you do? If you are seeking a teacher, this can be a bit difficult. You'll probably find a lot of adults will actually reject you. And there are some very good reasons for that. If you are under the legal age, then you need to get your parental consent before you can go and get teaching from somebody. The reason for this is that if you don't, the person that is teaching you can get into a lot of legal trouble. And for that reason, obviously, a lot of people will just say no straight out. One of the other obvious reasons, and it's a bit unfortunate, but it's not just teens here, it's adults as well, is that a lot of people will be very enthusiastic to begin with, and they get into magic and they start learning, and someone comes along and teaches them, and then they lose interest. Something else comes up in their life, which takes precedence, and it just becomes, it's almost like a phase. And as I say, that I'm not picking on teens. This happens, I've seen adults, left, right, and centre. Exactly the same thing happens. But I think a lot of people, because of the legal aspect, because of the difficulties we can have, it can turn into a huge big lawsuit. If a teen comes along, asks for teaching, doesn't get proper parental consent, and then the parents find out, and it's a big battle. So most people will just leave it alone to begin with, as I said. But what can you do as a teen who wants to learn magic? There's one big thing to bear in mind. Now, on this channel I speak a lot about demonolatry, and I did mention in a previous video some time back that when somebody starts working with the demons on the path itself, what often happens is their life just gets thrown upside down. And the reason for that is that it will rearrange. So your whole life basically gets pushed upside down. It just becomes tumultuous, because everything, the energies in your life need to rearrange in order to go forward in a more beneficial manner. So in order to come into your own power, the energies need to shift and change and adjust, and that adjustment can often just throw your life upside down. Now, this doesn't just happen when you start working with the demons. When somebody comes onto any magical path and they seriously start practicing, then the same thing happens. The energies they shift and they morph, so that you can actually move forward better. And for some people that's a big shift, for some people it's a very subtle shift, so they may not even notice it. But apart from that, as you carry on, you're going to be going through periods of initiations. So it's a whole death and rebirth process that happens, and that happens over and over and over again. Now, being a teen, your body is naturally going to go through hormonal changes. So you're going to be going through similar shifts to begin with, which can be very disruptive. It can disrupt every single part of your life. You're going to be going through a lot of mood swings. Your body is basically adjusting to this new phase in your life. So because of this, I wouldn't go and add on top of that this energetic change that needs to take place in your life because you're starting to practice magic. Rather get through that period first and then continue with practicing magic. What you can do in the meantime is study. Find out as much as you can, and don't just stick to one path. Find out as much as you can about everything, because at some areas overlap between traditions and paths, and when you can find those overlaps, you start to understand things a lot better. There might be a concept that you're trying to grasp and it's on one particular path, but you go and read some information about a different path or a different tradition, and they have the same aspect in that path, but they just explain it differently. All of a sudden it makes sense, and you can bring that knowledge back to this path you were studying originally. But try and get as much knowledge as you can, read as much as you can, and listen to the elders. They've been through what you're going through. They have, they've lived their life. They've been through the teen years. They've experienced that, and most of us have had children, and we've watched them go through it as well. And it can be an extremely disruptive process, an extremely disruptive part of your life. So my advice is to get as much knowledge as you can, and there's loads and loads of knowledge on the internet that you can access. So build yourself up, educate yourself. Then, when you do get over that phase, that shift and change, the hormonal changes that are happening naturally, when you get over that, when you get past that period, you can take all of that knowledge and you can put it to practice, and you'll be way ahead of the game. Many of us only came to magic later on in life. And we do have periods where general life just disrupts everything, and we need to put our focus towards something else. It might be career, it might be family, whatever it is. That part of our life just takes over for a period of time, so the magic slips by the wayside, or because of responsibilities and all that crap, we find that we can't practice as much as we would like. So it takes years and years and years just to develop one particular thing. You've got the time now. I mean, yes, you've got to study, you've got to go to school, you've got to get degrees or whatever it is you're getting. You've got to get that education in order to get a job, or maybe you're just trying to build a business early on in life. Whatever you're trying to do, that's going to be your income. You've got to focus on that, obviously. I'm not saying get rid of that and ignore that because magic's more exciting. You've got to do all those things. You've got to be the best you can possibly be. And getting that education and learning how to take that into the rest of your life is extremely important. But when it comes to magic and studying magic, just get as much information as you can. And don't worry about practice at this stage. I know it's fun. I know, the boring old guy comes along and says, don't practice magic. There's certain things you can do. There's certain simple spell works you can do. And you can start to build a relationship with a spirit if you feel particularly drawn to one. But don't worry about getting into all the heavy crap, Don't worry about trying to change the world at this point. I think let your intuition guide you mostly. And don't try and push any boundaries. There's no need for it. You've got plenty of time. But what I'm trying to say is, with all of those changes that are happening to you naturally, don't go and snowball it. Don't go and add more on, because it's just going to throw you completely off course. Just learn as much as you can, get as much knowledge as you can, as much education as you can. And then, as I said, take that with you into the future, where you can then put it into practice. And you'll already know what you're doing. You won't need to start from scratch when you're 20-something or 30-something. You just take that knowledge with you and you just apply it. One thing you can do at this point, which is going to be very, very beneficial for you, is meditation and breath work. I keep repeating this, and even adults will go, oh, but it's so boring. I know it can be boring, but if you actually keep up with the practice, you'll find that it's not so boring. It gets quite exciting, actually, especially when you start getting into trance work, and when you understand breath work, and how that can be applied to anything, then you understand how it can be applied to energy work, how it can be applied to magic, how it can be applied to trance work. So understanding that is fantastic. And obviously meditation and breath work can help you through that hormonal change as well. It can help you with your emotional shifts. It can help you if you're going through anxiety and depression. It can help you with that. But at the same time, don't ignore general healthcare. If you need a psychologist or a psychiatrist, then go and get that advice. And if your psychologist is open to spiritual practices, then talk to them about it, and talk to them about meditation. In some cases, meditation can be detrimental for somebody who does have severe mental health issues. But generally it can usually help. So speak to your doctor and just ask them what they think about meditation, if they have any advice, any particular methods that they think would benefit you. But definitely don't ignore that healthcare. It's extremely important. But when it comes to meditation and breathwork, as I said, in any magical path, it is an extremely important foundation, and it's just one of those practices that is necessary. So if you take this period of your life and you learn meditation and you learn breath work and you get into trance work, and you're going to start feeling the energies, you'll probably develop sight. you know, through just meditation and breathwork practices. You know, when you when you get over this period, then, as I said, you're going to be way ahead of the game to begin with. So, you know, do your meditation, do your breath work, and study. Educate yourself as much as you can, and you'll be fantastic. So that's really it. I know a lot of people, a lot of youngsters will say, "Oh, but that's so boring. I want to do all the spell work. I want to do all the magic and stuff." I know it's boring, but you know, trust me. If you have those foundational practices, meditation and breath work, and you have those solidly in your practice when you begin actual magical practice, it makes a whole load of difference. A lot of people, me included, spend years and years and years chasing after the big stuff and ignoring the meditation and breath work, and later on realizing, shit, if I'd have actually started there, I would have been way ahead of the game, or my game at this point. You know, years of studying and practice and trying to do this and that could have been condensed into a lot less. So get those foundations. All right, so that's it. I hope you have a fantastic week and happy solstice. Have a good one. Cheers.